sometimes it's important to understand what really matters. Obviously, being punctual is important to most of us, and I try, but I don't always succeed. But the reason why we are late for things matters sometimes. So I knew I had to come do the show. And, it's been a long week. I feel like I have hit a bit of a wall. So maybe I was dragging my feet. Maybe it's that it's just things are taking longer to do than they normally would. But I was on track to be relatively on time. But I couldn't find Cap. So we looked, and we live in an apartment, so it's not like Cap is going to be outside or something. That's just not possible. But she's started this new habit of burrowing underneath one of the blankets on the couch. So when we can't find her, that's typically the first place we look, but she wasn't there. She wasn't in any of her usual spots. It's like, I have to go do the show. So she'll turn up. Maybe she just needs a little alone time. So I come into the studio, I turn the lights on, I get the camera on, and lo and behold, Cap is on my chair. And she's never done that before, ever. So I am faced with a cat lover's dilemma. Move her or not? And of course, the answer is no, not. You do not move the cat, ever. This is where she has chosen to be. She has chosen to be here for a reason. So I let her come to her own conclusions. And then we decided, since she wasn't going anywhere, the thing to do was to convince her that playing with Mousy, which is her new favorite thing, Mousy, for those of you who are not aware, is a shoelace. And that enticed her from her perch, which is now nice and toasty and no doubt covered with a lot of black fur. So, my apologies. But if nothing else, I have my priorities straight. That wall I mentioned, it's real. I know we're all feeling it. This has been a very, very difficult week. From the sublime to the ridiculous, from the horrific and unspeakable to the absurd and embarrassing. It feels like the kind of week that has encapsulated the realities we face as Americans living day to day. And it is exhausting. It's exhausting, and sometimes it's demoralizing, and sometimes it's what is the word? Sometimes it just feels bad. As if somehow we've been poisoned and we need to detox. Now, most of the time, it's worse than that. Like, we're dealing with very, very serious issues. We are facing Greek tragedy level tragedies as individuals, as a society. And it is not helpful when it feels as if it's too much to bear. And it's at times like that, times like these, that we most desperately need to remember what the point of us, of humanity, is. And the reason I've been thinking about that is because, and again, not that this is surprising, although it should shock and annoy and humiliate us, is that, as you know, Donald today slapped his name on the Kennedy Center. So for us, it will remain the Kennedy Center, but in his little mind and the minds of his minions and the board of sycophants who allowed this to happen, even though it's illegal, it is currently the Trump Kennedy Center, which is not a thing. I have been to the Kennedy Center, as far as I'm aware, once, and it was this spring. It's a beautiful space. It's a beautiful building. And we just went to walk around. We weren't there to see a show or anything, or a concert. We were just there to walk around because it was probably one of the last times I was planning at least to be in DC for any period of time. And one of the things that struck me about it was the quotes from John F. Kennedy about art that were etched into the facade of the Kennedy Center. I actually made a video about it, but I kept getting photobombed by a couple of old women. So the video didn't pan out exactly. But I wanted to read a couple of quotes from President John Kennedy and then talk a little bit about how far we've fallen and what we as private citizens need to do about it. First, quote, "I'm certain that after the dust of centuries has passed over our cities, we too will be remembered not for our victories or defeats in battle or in politics, but for our contribution to the human spirit," unquote. And then, quote, "I look forward to an America which will not be afraid of grace and beauty, an America which will reward achievement in the arts as we reward achievement in business or statecraft," unquote. And finally, from President John F. Kennedy, quote, "We must never forget that art is not a form of propaganda, it is a form of truth," unquote. As to that last quote, that is why art is the enemy of fascism, and fascism is the enemy of art, because fascism can only survive through propaganda and disinformation. Fascism rejects truth wholesale. Art is the very essence of truth. Art is the diametric opposite of propaganda and disinformation and falsity. Art is the pinnacle of who we are. Art is the most sublime way through which we express our humanity. The most clear and precise and elegant way. We challenge ourselves, hold ourselves to account, hold up a mirror, look for the better in us, strive to be better, to do better, to create beauty, to unflinchingly look at who we are, what we've done, and what we can be. We live in a country right now that is governed by a fascist regime that rejects not just the premise that art is the epitome of human experience, but that rejects art entirely. Rejects art not simply because they understand the danger art presents to their agenda, but because they do not understand what it is at all. We talk often here about the power of mockery. What an effective tool, what an effective weapon it is to take people like Donald down, to demonstrate to those willing still to be convinced just how hollow and depraved and ridiculous, quite frankly, these men and women are. But we need to talk more about the ways in which art itself is our greatest tool to right the wrongs that have been committed against us and this country on a daily basis. So I'll be talking more about that in the new year. I just wanted to share with you some of my thoughts about that tonight. Let's dive in. Hey, everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of Mary Trump Live. It is wonderful to have you here with me. I'm going to be speaking quickly because I have a heart out, and Cap was sitting in my chair, and what was I supposed to do? Truly. So let's talk a little bit about the fact that on November 19th, Donald signed the so-called Epstein Files Transparency Act. Let's not forget, he didn't need to. He could have said, hey, Pam, release the files. He could have said in 2017, I don't remember who the Attorney General was, Bill Barr, maybe? No, there were like several. Oh, I know who it was. It was that unreconstructed racist from the South. He could have said, hey, what's your name? Release the files back in 2017. He could have said that any stop along the way, but no. Because he dragged his feet, because he lied to his supporters, it required a handful of Republicans siding with Democrats to force Speaker of the House Mike Johnson to force the DOJ to release the files. So the Epstein Files Transparency Act was signed a month ago, and this legislation mandated that the Department of Justice release Epstein files by the end of the day today. That is not happening. This morning, in an appearance on Fox Day TV, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche served up some word salad. The main point, of course, was that the Trump regime's DOJ is violating the law, and they are happy to do so. If Todd Blanche is the spokesperson in this instance, you know that it is not going to go well for the rule of law or the truth. Take a look.
The most important thing that the Attorney General has talked about, that Director Patel has talked about, is that we protect victims. And so what we're doing is we are looking at every single piece of paper that we are going to produce, making sure that every victim, their name, their identity, their story, to the extent it needs to be protected, is completely protected. And so I expect that we're going to release more documents over the next couple of weeks. So today, several 100,000, and then over the next couple weeks, I expect several 100,000 more. There's a lot of eyes looking at these, and we want to make sure that when we do produce the materials we're producing, that we're protecting every single victim.
Sure, Jan. It's obscene, of course, that Blanche or anybody else in the Trump regime would claim they care about the victims. They've had 10 years. 10 years. The victim, potentially, they're trying to protect is the person who doesn't want the files released at all. As the New York Times points out, this last-minute announcement drew immediate bipartisan criticism. Republican Congressman Thomas Massie posted on Twitter saying, quote, "Time's up, release the files," unquote. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said that Donald and Attorney General Pam Bondi are, quote, hell-bent on hiding the truth, unquote. Yes, this is obvious. Again, since the time Donald signed the order that he did not need to sign, it has been a month, but as I said, they've had years And there's literally no excuse anymore. And I think it's fair to say that the longer this takes, the guiltier certain people look. As I mentioned earlier, Donald, after declaring himself chairman of the board of the Kennedy Center, stacking the board of the Kennedy Center with a bunch of bootlicking sycophants, basically told them to vote in order to rename the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. It is now, at least in their little minds, the Donald J. Trump and John F. Kennedy Center, which is not a thing because changing the name without consent of Congress is illegal. That's right. Legal scholars say that since the Kennedy Center's name was created by legislation, a new law would have to be passed in order to change it. So it's illegal. But again, what are the consequences? He's already etched his stupid name into the facade of the building. Are Republicans in Congress going to do anything about it? Can you guys hear me? Hang on. Give me a sec. All right, I'm going to ask one more time. Can you guys hear me? Just say, I can hear you. Because if you say yes, I'm not sure if you're talking about that or something else entirely. Oh, okay, they can hear me. So I'm going to go with the assumption that most of you can hear me. My apologies. Okay, so I've been talking about this for a while. I need to continue. We all need to talk about this more. What he's doing is illegal, but what are the consequences? If something is illegal and you break the law and there are no consequences, why bother? There have to be mechanisms in place. There have to be. So I don't know what can be done now, but what I do know, and I talked about this a little bit last night, Donald can put his name on anything he wants to, apparently, and the Republicans in Congress will continue to do absolutely nothing, right? But the second he exits stage left, all of it will go away. His name will be reviled. His name will go down in history with the worst of the worst. And we will no longer be confronted on a daily basis with the obscenity of his name being plastered everywhere. In the meantime, I guess my recommendation would be, you know what? Let him be the thirsty, pathetic, grasping creature he is. And, maybe the Republicans will get sick of it. In the meantime, don't let it bother you. Because we will undo all of this harm. We will. Donald pretended to be surprised by the so-called honor. He said the board had voted unanimously for the change, but that's not true. First of all, most of the members on the board are hacks. So their vote is meaningless, but there is one woman on the board, Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, who's a Democrat from Ohio. She's an ex officio member of the Kennedy Center board. She released a video statement contradicting Donald's claims. So take a look at this. We have some technical difficulties, but give me a sec. Now we're going to play the clip. Hopefully.
Just ending a call with the Kennedy Center, where I serve as an ex officio member. I am bringing this to you live today because what you may hear is just ending a call with the Kennedy Center, where I serve as an ex officio member. I am bringing this to you live today because what you may hear is that there was a unanimous vote to rename the Kennedy Center the Trump Center. Be clear, I was on that call, and as I tried to push my button to voice my concern, to ask questions, and certainly not to vote in support of this, I was muted. Each time I tried to speak, I was muted. Participants were not allowed to voice their concerns who were online. Yet it was said at the end, it was a unanimous vote. Clearly, the Congress has a say in this. This center, the Kennedy Center, was created by the Congress. I think it's important for us to know that this is just another attempt to evade the law and not let the people have a say.
That's right. They don't want the people to have a say. And clearly, they are increasingly comfortable making their racism and misogyny known. There's no hiding it anymore. None. They don't care. And I am looking forward to congressional Republicans actually doing something about it. Yeah, not holding my breath. Moving on to the fate of those Affordable Care Act subsidies, CNN reports that House Republicans adjourned for the holidays without preventing those enhanced subsidies from expiring on January 1st. That is to say, the Affordable Care Act subsidies that needed to be extended are not going to be, despite the fact that we shut the government down for over 7 weeks because of that. One, because 8 cowardly Democrats voted with Republicans to reopen the government without the Affordable Care Act subsidy extensions. And 2, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, that holier than thou, anti-Christian, anti-American creep, is also a coward. And he does not want to deal with the fact that enough Republicans sided with Democrats to force that vote to be brought to the House floor. So while House Republicans go on their holiday vacation with their extremely excellent health care, millions of people are going to have those subsidies expire on the 1st of this year and will either face steep premium increases, that's 22 million Americans, that will cause serious financial harm, or force them to stop having health care at all. GOP leaders argue that the subsidies just bolster a Democratic plan in need of reform, but year after year, they have done nothing to present a plan of their own. I am very sorry, but the concept of a plan is not a plan. And Donald and the Republican Party have had a decade to try to solve this problem, but they don't want to. Senators in both parties criticize leadership for skipping town with no solution. And let's face it, the Republicans who voted with the Democrats to force Johnson to bring this to the floor for a vote are only concerned because they want to get reelected and they're in swing districts. So, Mike Lawler, looking at you, a New York representative who won last time around, even though it was a pretty solidly Democratic district. It's important for his constituents to know that he doesn't care about them. He cares about being reelected, and any Democrat who replaces him will do a much better job. All right. As I mentioned, I have a thing to do tonight. So I just want to remind all of you that the Mary Trump Media store is up and running. We've got merch. Check it out. There's a lot of really cool stuff. We've got t-shirts, we've got tote bags, we've got sweatshirts, we've got ornaments, we've got Mugs. I like the mugs myself. Don't vote for fascists. I read bad books. Mary Trump Media, where fake news goes to die. Kindness equals strength. We will continue to have more designs, but I think the ones that are up there now are awesome. So check it out. It's I'm sure some awesome person has put the link in the chat. Also, check out our Patreon page. There are lots of bonuses and exclusive content. We're really going to need your support. So, if you're at a loss for a holiday gift, give somebody a membership, either YouTube or Patreon, give them a t-shirt, whatever, in support of independent media, because this is a crucial time in the media, and this country is at a crossroads. And I think going forward, our best hope is to have independent voices staying independent and not selling out. And I mean, not that we ever would, but still, it's nice to have support and be able to expand our mission, right? That's our goal, to reach more people. So we are only accountable to the truth, to the facts, and to you and to American democracy. We've got some really great Substack lives and a lot of content. We've been working very hard, scheduled throughout the holidays. So check out that QR code in the corner of your screen. And we have reached that time where I can stop pitching, because it is not my favorite thing to do, and we can breathe. It's been a week. Whoa. Whew. So not only do we get to breathe, and that includes the inhalation and the exhalation, we get to see our emotional support moment. Here is a winter waterfall. So just take it in. Imagine that cool, fresh air. Listen to those sounds and relax. Oh, wait, I totally forgot. The technical. That's it. That's not enough. I think that went swimmingly. Well, thanks everybody for your patience tonight. I'm so sorry I've got to cut this short, but I will spend more time on Monday in your questions and comments and thanking you. But very quickly, to everybody watching on YouTube, streaming on Twitter, and the Good in Us, listening to the podcast, we truly appreciate it. To all of our new subscribers, people gifting subscriptions, our awesome super stickers, everybody giving us donations, everybody buying our merch and all that other stuff. We truly, truly, truly are grateful to all of you, to our amazing moderators, and of course to my absolutely extraordinary team. Thank you. I think we really need a weekend, is what I think. So unplug, unwind, do something creative, get into nature, touch a tree, something, and keep breathing and keep thinking about what matters, and stay grounded. We'll be back Monday for another episode of Barry Trump Live, and at that point, I'll let you guys know what our schedule is for the break, because we are actually taking a break, but there will still be tons of content. I promise you. That's it. Have an amazing weekend. See you Monday. In the meantime, please stay safe and be kind. Bye.